All right, let's jump right in. You hear these words, right? Esoteric, occult, mystical, and you might think it's all just abstract stuff. But what if? What if it's actually something more? Like a hidden user's manual for the most complicated thing we'll ever operate, our own consciousness. That's the idea we're digging into today. The idea that reality isn't random, it has rules, and we have the tools to play the game.
So just let that sink in for a second. What if your whole life, everything you're experiencing, isn't just one random thing after another? What if it's more like an interactive system, a system that comes with an instruction booklet that if you just knew how to read it, could completely change the way you live your life? The material we're looking at says, yeah, that's exactly how it works.
Okay, so before we can understand the system, we've got to look at let's call it, our default programming. It's the state most of us are running on day in and day out without even knowing it.
Now, when you see this number, 666, your mind probably jumps to all sorts of wild places, right? But what we're looking at here is a completely different take. Forget everything you think you know about some evil mark. In this view, 666 is something internal. It's a code for a state of being. Think about it, 3 sixes. Those are your 3 creative powers, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And the number 6, that represents the material world. You know, like a cube has 6 sides. So when you put it all together, 666 is just a shorthand for when all of your creative energy is aimed only at the physical world. It's about being spiritually out of whack, completely obsessed with just stuff.
And this really hits the nail on the head. It's not saying the material world is evil or anything like that. The problem is when we get so obsessed with it, so caught up in it, that we lose touch with who we really are on the inside, what the sources call our true nature. That's the trap. That's the unconscious program we need to figure out how to rewrite.
So if that's the default program, how do you break out? Well, the sources say the first step isn't trying to fight it. It's about understanding the operating system it runs on, the basic, fundamental laws that make reality tick.
And I love this metaphor, a video game. I mean, think about it. The person who designed the game doesn't control every single little thing that happens. No way. They write the code, they set the rules, things like gravity, how things interact, and then the game just runs. According to this perspective, reality is pretty much the same. It works on a set of universal laws that are absolutely unbreakable.
And here they are, the 7 big rules of the road for reality. First up, we've got mentalism. This is the big one. The idea that the entire universe is basically a thought, that all is mind. Then there's vibration. I mean, it's simple, right? Nothing ever really stands still. Everything is always moving, always vibrating. Next is correspondence. You probably heard this one. As above, so below. It just means the patterns you see in the big picture are echoed in the small picture, and vice versa. Then we have gender, and this isn't about male and female people, but about the creative energies, the masculine and feminine principles that exist in literally everything. Of course, there's cause and effect. No getting around that one. Every action has a reaction. After that comes rhythm. Everything moves in cycles, the tides, the seasons, our own lives. And last but maybe most important is care. This is the idea that what we genuinely care about is what we bring into being. And we're going to circle back to that one because it's the real engine behind all of this.
So if those are the rules of the game, what are our controls? What are we actually working with? Well, it's time to look at our own internal control panel.
And these aren't just random brain activities. The sources describe them as 7 distinct powers of your mind. These are the actual tools you use to work with those universal laws and start consciously creating your own reality.
Okay, so here's your toolkit. It all kicks off with perception, just the raw information your senses are pulling in. You can actually train this, by really paying attention, not just passively looking. Then you have interpretation, which is what you do with that information, how you give it meaning. You get better at this by questioning your own first impressions. Next up, the powerhouse, imagination. This is your creative engine, where new possibilities are born. After that comes emotion, the fuel, the raw energy behind your thoughts. The trick is to feel your emotions without letting them run the show. Then there's will. Think of this like a muscle. It's your ability to focus all that energy on a single point. And of course, there's memory, your personal database of experiences, which is how you learn and grow. And finally, you have intuition, that gut feeling, that direct knowing that doesn't follow a logical path. Getting a handle on these is how you start to take the driver's seat.
So what's the spark that makes it all go? Well, the source calls it the G-force, the generative principle. This is where that law of care comes roaring back. You see, you only really act on what you truly care about. That feeling, whether you call it love, desire, whatever, that's the energy that takes an idea from your imagination,
focuses it with your will and actually pushes it into physical reality. It's the engine of creation, plain and simple. Okay, we've got the rules of the game, we've got our inner toolkit, so what's the point of it all? What's the end game? That's what this final section is all about, the path to self-mastery.
And it's really important to get this. The goal isn't to float away and escape the world. Not at all. It's about achieving balance, right here and now. And the sources point to this incredible ancient symbol, the Egyptian weighing of the heart. The whole idea was to make your heart as light as a feather, to find that perfect balance between your spiritual self and your physical life.
And this chart breaks it down perfectly. You've got two paths. The heavy heart is all tangled up in ego, addictions, and emotional baggage. According to this material, a heart like that makes the transition after you die a lot harder. You get stuck in these lower realms of confusion. But the light heart, that's a heart that's been cleared of all that junk. It's not attached to outcomes, it's free. And that freedom allows for a smooth, conscious, and peaceful transition. That lightness, that balance, that is self-mastery.
So let's just end with this thought. If your consciousness really is the operating system, if your thoughts and your feelings are the programming language, and you now know the basic rules of the system, then you're not just a passenger anymore, you're the programmer. So the only real question is, what are you going to create?